I chuckled loudly, my voice echoing sharply in the living room as if breaking glass against tile. Addressing my brother, I said, "I'm eagerly anticipating your wedding tomorrow." A brief pause followed, a silence I should have sensed was awkward. Aunt Marion then smirked, her smirk prolonged and calculated, presenting a folder of photos. "It happened last week," she stated, the images radiating self-importance. My omission from the pictures evident. My parents chuckled behind her, a laughter that muffled the pain in my heart. "Were we not supposed to tell you?" I asked, feeling a chill. A momentary blankness filled my mind before the realization struck sharp and clear. They hadn't merely forgotten me, they had intentionally left me out. A month later, the phone rang. "The renovation payments have ceased," my father informed me, his tone casual but intended to provoke. "Didn't I warn you?" I responded, my voice steady and firm, devoid of any hint of fear or doubt. And with that, the power dynamic had shifted. I recall the first time I placed unwavering trust in them. My parents had been affectionate, boisterous, and humorous. My brother was a steady, comforting presence. Family dinners exuded the scent of roast and anticipation. I was unsuspecting, trusting that love insulated me from harm. Aunt Marion infiltrated our lives like a mist, mysterious, softly defined, a barely perceptible alteration in the ambience. She dispensed advice, dinners, inside information. I found her captivating, almost like an additional mother figure. I had no inkling she would instruct me in the harsh lesson of deceit. It began with minor transgressions. Missed invitations, unanswered messages, my achievements minimized or casually disregarded during discussions. My brother's laughter, once familiar, now seemed tinged with an odd undertone, as if my absence were a jest. I detected patterns, white lies, hidden facts. I remained composed. I cataloged. I watched. The truth was unveiled in a solitary message, an incorrectly sent text to my phone. A screenshot of a family group chat showed my wedding gift contributions being ridiculed. My joy mocked, skipped heartbeats, narrowed eyes. That was sufficient. Sufficient to spark something unfeeling, prudent. I ceased responding, I ceased clarifying, I embraced quietude, the deadliest instrument. I scrutinized their actions, their finances, the vulnerable areas they failed to recognize, which I discreetly recorded. They believed their laughter masked secrets. I, however, had a different perspective. I surveyed the contracts, the payments, the minor indulgences. Each of their errors contributed to the schematic I was crafting. Patience proved indispensable. Retribution is not a swift act. It's a gradual blaze. I didn't confront them right away. That would have been juvenile. Instead, I dismantled their tranquil realm through calculated, silent maneuvers. I knew where they held power and, most crucially, where they had blind spots. A few weeks subsequently, a muted alteration in the renovation contractor emerged. "Payments have been tweaked," I stated, tone calm, not threatening, precise. A subtle, surgical withdrawal of funds. They were taken aback. Baffled, I offered no additional information, no explanation. Their distress was my first morsel of personal triumph. Socially, I distanced myself from family events. I didn't argue or explode. Instead, I became the tranquil core amidst an impending storm they failed to anticipate. Invitations arrived unanswered. Photos were shared, deliberately excluding me once more. I allowed it. Each omission fortified my argument. Every slight honed my resolve. When Aunt Marion phoned one evening, her tone was patronizing. "You're missing out." I listened attentively, then softly responded, "I understand." A prolonged silence ensued, and she was oblivious to the depth of my comprehension or my newfound patience. The climax arrived with impeccable timing. The family anticipated obedience, submission. They thought silence equaled compliance. I proposed a meeting under the pretext of reconciliation, a dinner where image mattered more than honesty. I arrived late, composed, slightly smiling, observing as their anxious chatter filled the room. My brother attempted to joke about the previous month's wedding. I smiled, subtly adding fuel to the fire. My parents cast a wary glance at me, hesitant. My aunt reached for a glass of wine. I dropped the bombshell first. "You failed to make renovation payments, didn't you?" Their eyes widened in surprise. I had orchestrated it, every stopped payment, every missed deadline, every small crisis carefully planned to reach this dinner this very moment. You knew." My father's voice cracked slightly. No answer was needed. Silence can be more poisonous than words. As my smile grew sharper, I let the final piece fall. A bank statement slid across the table, clear and undeniable. They were exposed. Their laughter, their subtle mockery crumbled under the weight of truth they had never expected me to wield. Aunt Marion paled, my brother stammered, my parents sat frozen in shock. I let them simmer in their panic and betrayal, which they had inflicted on me so carelessly. I didn't gloat out loud. The sense of satisfaction was mine alone. Weeks later, I sit in my apartment, sipping coffee as they occasionally call tentatively. Querying for information, in search of answers.